Coming up on the CodeBet Daily NRL show, Phil and I wrap up a disastrous Wednesday night with New South Wales. Jerome Luai is still a flog. The Gold Coast coach got sacked, and somehow there's a couple of games to go through this weekend. What are we looking at, Phil?
Yeah, Broncos 13 plus, Melbourne 13 plus, Panthers 13 plus, Raiders at the line. I've got a lot to discuss as far as the odds are concerned this weekend. Of course, half of it is going to be wrong because it's just impossible to predict how teams play in this origin period. So we'll do our best to wade through all of the information that is coming to hand as far as that is concerned.
Well, he sounded a lot more confident in the show, so you really should check it out right now because it's CodeBet NRL. It's really good. Welcome to the CodeBet Daily NRL show for round 17, believe it or not. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly. I am joined by, as always, Phil Pryor, our NRL expert. We are writers for a pretty great website that you should call CodeBet. Go check that out at codebet.com.au for all of your odds comparison and analysis. Phil, let's just get to it. We suck. And by I say we, I mean New South Wales. What the hell was that?
Excellent question. I think that was a culmination of a lot of fans' concerns over recent months, weeks, days, even years, frankly. But the wheels really fell off this year, just from an organisational standpoint, right down to the navy blue jersey debacle before game one. Like these problems aren't just limited to the coaching staff, as far as I'm concerned. But the buck certainly stops with them. And I mean, look, I don't know how much you want to get into it, but I think that game last night was arguably the most embarrassing performance I've ever seen from a blue side.
Yeah, it was the old pride in the jersey. It wasn't there. I wrote to you this morning, rundown. We yell about how terrible we are. We yell about Freddie. So we've already gone about how terrible we are. Well, Freddie, it's got to be simple. He's got to get sacked. Surely he can't coach Origin 3. Like any other sporting organisation in the world, barring State of Origin, Freddie Fittler would copy his marching orders later this week.
I hope he does. I don't think it will happen that way. He's been at the helm now 6 years, I believe. And New South Wales Rugby League will pretend that the respectful thing to do is to wait until after game 3.
No, it's not. That was shambolic.
I think the respectful thing to do is go online and actually look at what a lot of the fans are saying. Go on SEN or wherever you need to go and just get a general consensus of what fans are feeling like. I know that the people that call in on SEN aren't necessarily the most neutral, balanced people or fans, but the general vibe is obviously way off. And
just go on Twitter,
listen to fans, and also pay some respect to the players that just deserve so much better than what they've had to cop from an organisational standpoint this series and beyond.
Yeah, and our next point on the rundown is we yell about how Jerome Luai has managed to become a bigger flog than Ollie Robinson in record time. Pretty simple. Jerome, go on Instagram and talk all the crap you want about people having to go for work in the morning. At least I turned up to work today, pal.
That was bizarre. Truly, truly bizarre.
From a dude who doesn't have a good record on the internet to begin with, he just knocked himself out there.
Yeah, his limitations certainly come to the fore at Origin level. There's no two ways about that. Obviously a solid rugby league player in an incredibly solid club team. But, he just exacerbated all the Blues' problems in attack, similar to the way that Tedesco would, even similar to the way that Isaiah Yeo did last night. Like there's no leadership in that team, and there was no plan, no structure, and Luai is one of the main offenders in that sense. And then the carry on at the back end of the game was just utterly disgraceful. And I think that the way that he acted at the back end of that game stamps his ticket to never playing for the Blues ever again.
Yeah, and I just had a quick take and I said to you this, and it won't happen, but it should. Let's blow up this Panthers connection. Let's just get rid of them keep Mitchell Moses in and throw Nicho Hynes in for game 3, because what has been the old way of New South Wales clearly hasn't worked. Try something new and see if it works. And I said, drop Teddy because, he's cooked and I absolutely love him. But then thinking about it, I was like, you may have to give him just that farewell. Yep, Teddy, this is your last one. We're going to wind you up. You won't be playing in 2024. But the halves combination has to be Mitch Moses and Nicho Hynes.
Yeah, I think we need to be careful at overreacting to absolutely everything through this process. I think we can all agree that the coaching staff was just thoroughly outplayed versus Billy's team north of the Tweed. I think that there are definitely some selection changes that have to occur to this Blues lineup, but I also don't think that we need to ring in 10 to 12 changes and have a completely new look team heading into next season as well. One of the things which upsets me the most is the lack of cohesion and sort of a longer term plan with the squad that the Blues have been assembling the last few years, throwing young players to the Wolves and then you never see them again, and they've been mentally scarred through that process. Not giving the young guys who are emerging into the squad enough time and opportunity to properly, acclimatise to what Origin football is. So I don't think we just need to go out and just completely flip the team on its head. I think with some adults in the room from a coaching perspective and a genuine captain and leader, someone that you would consider running through a brick wall through, Tedesco is not that guy.
Yeah.
I think that's the core squad can win Origin games, can win Origin series. The bookies thought so heading into game 1. The bookies have thought so for the last 3 or 4 years. There's not a whole ton of difference to that Queensland side, right? They're on the younger side for sure, but Tedesco has to go. Jerome Luai has to go. There's no two ways about that. Outside of that, I think we need to be careful completely throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Let's start by just getting a couple of adults in the room as far as the coaching staff is concerned.
Yeah, no, fair enough then. And we'll move on from that with the shocking news that's literally come down in the last couple of hours. It's 2:15 in the afternoon on Thursday as we are recording this. Justin Holbrook has been unceremoniously shown the door by the Gold Coast Titans from right now because Des Hasler is taking over as coach of Gold Coast Titans for next season. What in the hell?
Completely out of left field, this one. I think it's it's fair to say.
I did not have this on my bingo card.
Nobody saw this coming. I mean, I suppose the
Titans aren't going terribly. Let's point that out. They are 9th on the ladder. They're not great, but they're not pathetic. They are literally 9th, only out of the top 8 on points difference. A win this weekend against the Broncos would get them into the top 8.
Once again, though, it hasn't been a successful season. Those same problems keep popping up. Their inability to play two halves, their inability to serve out games in the second half after they put together first half leads. You have to
Suns AFL team.
You have to wonder what's going on. What is being spoken about in the sheds? Why are the players just completely shriveling up in the bigger moments of these games? I don't think you put all of that on Justin Holbrook, but what you do put on Justin Holbrook is sort of somewhat similar issues to what we're sort of facing with the Blues. Is that there have just been time and again over the last 2-3 years, just baffling, head scratching selection decisions that don't make a lot of common sense. And there was no doubt that Holbrook entered this season as arguably one of the coaches with one of the hottest seats in the NRL. The other one being, of course, Anthony Griffin. He was shown the door a few weeks ago. Justin Holbrook, based on pre-season expectations, has probably exceeded those, getting Gold Coast to 9th in the mix. And beyond that, sort of that football team has been in the mix within games even more than the ones that they've managed to run out and actually win. So the timing on this one is shocking, obviously, but you get the sense the board just witnessed one too many late game fades and enough was enough. They've been having private conversations to Des Hasler behind the scenes, obviously, because this has all come to light very, very quickly, but certainly out of the blue.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that one coming, but that's enough sort of covering the news and what the hell's going on in the last 24 hours in the world of the rugby league. Let's get into round 17 with the opposite of a barn burner. St. George Illawarra, 275, the line 6.5, taking on the New Zealand Warriors at $1.50. Again, the line 6.5. Over-unders 43.5. This one taking place at the Wollongong Showground. Surely New Zealand just win this. St. George have got more issues than anyone at the moment. Like, I saw Ben Hunt say he was going to play, but surely there's a bit of like, this bloke wants to leave us. Why do we want him playing for us at the moment? Or is it, yeah, he's good, we kind of need him?
Yeah, not exactly a crowd pleaser, the opener for round 17. Obviously watching the Dragons play, following that up with their off-field ineptitude, it is truly a depressing exercise. Following along what's going on at the Dragons right now. I would be utterly stunned if Ben Hunt plays in this game off a 48-hour turnaround from that Origin game. Obviously played a leading role.
Just accidentally miss your flight.
We all know what happened last weekend. Finally, his manager came out and said, we're done. We want to move on. Organise a release, please. Enough is enough, which Hunt is well within his rights to do. He's been keeping this operation afloat for a number of years now. Otherwise, the irony is that Ben Hunt has been papering over cracks that have been widening for 2-3 seasons now, and the club might have been better off if they never had Hunt to begin with, because they might have hit bottom a lot sooner. Now they're dealing with all this right now. So why would Ben Hunt put his body through any more wear and tear for that football club, particularly 48 hours after an Origin game? It makes absolutely zero sense. The fact that the late mail is leaning towards him playing probably still gives us an opportunity to get on the Warriors minus only 6.5. If Hunt is ruled out, that line extends.
Yeah. And
I still think he probably is ruled out at some point in this game. Again, I don't know that definitively. I don't have any inside word, but I would be utterly shocked if he plays in this game. So yes, of course, I'm jumping on the Warriors minus the 6.5 at this point in time. If the Dragons score a try, it's most likely going to be Michaeli Ravalawa down that right edge. He scored 9 tries from 11 games this season. I'm also loving Jackson Ford at some value as an anytime try scorer for the Warriors at $3.90 on Ladbrokes. Left edge forward, playing against his old club. He'll be buoyed by that aspect here, and the Warriors should have some points in this one. They're 6-1 against the spread on the road this season, as I think you might have mentioned off the top there.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm liking the Warriors in this one. Probably the unders, though, because I just don't know how many points a flat Dragons team are going to have in them.
No, that makes total sense. I was all over the Warriors at the line with the line at Top Sport there. So we'll go with that minus 6.5 at $1.95. Moving across to Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. The Dolphins are $2.75. Parramatta Eels $1.48. 6.5 line. You can get either 44.5 for the under or 45.5 for the over. I think Parramatta will get this one done pretty handily. 2 big wins in a row. And the Dolphins, the last time we saw them, got smashed by Manly. Parramatta then came out and whipped Manly last week. So if you just put 2 and 2 together, Parramatta win and win well.
Yeah, it's just been so hard to get a read on the Dolphins in recent weeks. Obviously, their energy levels have faded, which I think many of us probably expected. They've got Sean O'Sullivan named on the extended bench. It looks like they're getting Jeremy Marshall-King back for this one as well, and that is a massive boost for them. The fact that they're playing at Sunshine Coast Stadium could be another boost for this Dolphins team. And the Eels have got a number of players looking to back up from Origin. So even though 6.5 is not a massive line, I'm tipping the Eels. Something tells me the Dolphins could keep this one tight though. I'm not. I don't have a strong feeling on this one either way yet.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'll be pretty confident tipping Parramatta. Maybe just take them head-to-head at the $1.48 at the moment. Penasini, awesome form for Parramatta. He scored the last 6 times they've played during the daytime, so we love those random factoids here. 5:30 Saturday evening, Penrith Panthers, $1.28 with a 10.5 handicap, taking on the Newcastle Knights, who got knocked off by the awesome, tongue firmly in cheek there, Roosters at $3.90. The line is again 10.5, over under 41.5 or 40.5. Penrith has failed to cover the line in its last 6 matches against teams that have lost 2 on the bounce. Newcastle are one of them. So I don't know about this game given all of the Origin stars. Newcastle, I don't know about them given we thought they'd roll the Roosters last week, but they somehow got rolled. So I'm going to be watching the Swans win by 170 at this point, so I don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. It's an interesting one. I obviously got that tip right last week in the end, the Cowboys against the Panthers up there at North Queensland, coming home to take on a Knights side with at least you would say 2 or 3 of their Origin players back in the fold is a massive boost for this Penrith team. Who knows at this early stage, who knows what the fallout from Origin will dictate in terms of how the Panthers come out and actually play in this one. But you would think that some of those players who had their colours seriously lowered in that game up at Suncorp Stadium on Wednesday night would be eager to bounce back. They're not going to get Nathan Cleary in the process there, but the Panthers are obviously probably the best defensive team in the competition. And, defense isn't necessarily about talent. Ivan Cleary, he does an excellent job in that respect. I don't know how many points the Knights are going to have in them outside of probably 1 or 2 freakish moments from Dom Young. Kalen Pong is obviously capable as well, but I'm probably leaning Penrith at the line in this one, minus the 10.5, $1.91 on Bet365.
Nice and simple there. Moving on to Saturday night. Big old rivalry, this one, as we know. The Melbourne Storm are $1.22 with the line at 12.5. Manly at $4.50. Geez, that line feels mighty short there. Plus 13.5 for Manly, given the fact that Turbo Tom is turboing himself into hospital at the moment with a potentially torn pec. Not ideal for him, not ideal for Manly. They may get hammered.
Yeah, this is a major concern for Seagulls fans. This one, obviously, another installment of one of NRL's great modern-day rivalries. We love it when these two sides lock horns. It's just an unfortunate reality that we're not going to get either of the two major Trebojeviches featuring for Manly in this game. And obviously, Manly are infamously bad travellers as well. They're 4-2 on the road this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're 2-4 on the road this year. Call it 2-5, considering that they hosted the Broncos at Suncorp Stadium for Magic Round, and that is their only true interstate game so far this season. They went down 32-6 in that one. Now they did beat the Raiders in Canberra. I'm not going to classify that as a true interstate affair if it's just a quick bus trip down the road or whatever you want to call it. Going down to Melbourne
from Manly. Let's give
going down to Melbourne is a completely different story. Tom Trbojevic out indefinitely now with the pec problem from Wednesday night, of course. Gerbo is not back yet. That spells major drama for Manly, who haven't really been able to sort things out without Jake Trbojevic lining up at 13. That was the story of that big loss to Brisbane on the Friday night of Magic Round as well. Just rudderless, utterly rudderless. Daly Cherry Evans coming off 80 minutes on Wednesday night, 3 days later, backing up for Manly, of course, and he will because he's a warrior, but he's not going to be at his fresh best either. So I think the Storm are going to do a huge job on the Seagulls in this one, frankly.
Yeah, nice and simple there, punters. Moving ahead to Sunday, 2 p.m., the game that we sort of touched on a little bit earlier. Brisbane Broncos, $1.36 with the 9.5 handicap, taking on the coachless Gold Coast Titans. I asked a question pre-taping. I was like, who in the bloody hell is coaching the Gold Coast? We don't know. They are $3.50 with the 9.5 start. Gold Coast have lost 26 of its last 27 matches against teams that are in the top 4. Could we get a new coach bounce here, or is that just not going to be a thing because let's be honest, it is the Gold Coast?
I mean, it's very hard to say, only because it's not the normal new coach bounce process here where an old coach is sacked, an interim comes in, the shackles are freed, and they just go out and play ball with a fresh dose of energy. With this one, as we record on Thursday afternoon, the day that Justin Holbrook was relieved of his duties, the players are probably still being briefed by club officials as to what actually happened through this process.
Yeah.
We were blindsided publicly. I've got no doubt that a lot of the players were blindsided as well.
Yep.
And now they're expected to go out and play 3 days later when they've got absolutely no faith that the board know what they're doing. I saw somewhere online as well that Mal Meningo, one of the sort of the club, he's involved with the Titans from basically just like offering some guidance. I believe him and Tallis as well. Meninga wasn't part of the process either, which frankly is probably a good thing. But the reality is that even these advisors weren't cluey to the process that was taking place. A 10-day negotiation with Des Hasler, boom, it's done and dusted, Hasler in. So the players are their minds are just going to be completely scattered, and it does not bode well for them in this game either. You can't imagine.
Just keep it nice and simple. Tipping the Broncos, even though they will have a few players back, just maybe take the $1.36 and not be too overly, shall we say, exertive with your bets there.
It's a single-digit line.
Yeah.
Where you're getting on the Broncos all day there.
Yep, easy. South Sydney, $1.42, taking on the North Queensland Cowboys. Main game on Sunday afternoon, 4:05 p.m. Line 7.5, the over-under 44.5. Souths are on a 7-game winning streak against the Cowboys, and I know that they won last week, the Cowboys, but Souths at home, I think they're just going to have too much, don't you think?
Yeah, it's a curious one. Obviously, there's been a lot of headlines written the last few weeks about star South Sydney players and whether or not they're fit and healthy. So Latrell probably not in this one. Just trying to look at the late mail now, what we've got there. So Cody Walker does come back in though, which is good. Tom Burgess back in, Davey Moali back in to help them off the bench. Now, Damien Cook, how fresh is he going to be after playing 75 minutes
he
at
tried his
left
guts
centre?
Out. He was fantastic.
I mean, he did it. He did all he could. No one's blaming Cook, which is actually a relief that even people online understand that you shouldn't ask a hooker, a veteran hooker at that, to fill in at left centre when they've never played there before. Cam Murray,
not ideal.
Cam Murray, fresher than he should be after not even getting on in the first half of the Blues' loss. So you would think he'll be right to back up the As for the Cowboys players, so it looks as though Todd Payton has confirmed that all 5 will back up. So that includes Val Holmes, of course, who wasn't named in the original side, Reuben Cotter, Nane, Reece Robson, although Reece Robson's coming off 80 minutes, so that probably cancels out the Damien Cook aspect of this whole head-to-head scenario. But yeah, I think the Rabbitohs, they're one of the best teams in the comp. That's the reality. There's been a few distractions the last few weeks. Not having Latrell Mitchell undoubtedly hurts them, but both sides, neither of the two sides here are at full strength. So I think we take the Rabbitohs at home. We don't really rate the Cowboys interstate. Their record this year is pretty diabolical in that respect. So a lot of these games, I'm taking the team to cover, the favourite to cover, and the 7.5. It's not a big line, is it?
No, not especially if it was up in Queensland, you'd be like, oh yeah, maybe North to cover, but yeah, just can't see it down in Sydney. So, yeah, I was pretty happy to back the Bunnies there too. Now, confusion. Sunday, 6:15. Sydney Roosters, $1.62. Line at 3.5. Canberra Raiders, $2.35. Again, line at 3.5. Over under 42.5. This one confuses me. Help me, please, because I'm obviously a Roosters fan, but I'm on the Raiders top 4, and I think the Raiders are better, but it's also, I'm just like, oh yeah, the Roosters could eventually just go bang, and I'm like, that's why they're good. I'm just waiting for it to happen, but I can't see it happening.
No, I wouldn't be expecting that to happen anytime soon. Luke Keary, he's in doubt as well. So, Sandon Smith and Joey Manu in the halves, anyone? Sandon Smith and Drew Hutchison in the halves, anyone? James Tedesco coming off 80 minutes. Good luck asking him to create points inside the opposition red zone. Yep. He's completely lost any semblance of the passing game that he once possessed when he was at the peak of his powers. His passing game was horrendous last night when he did decide to pass it. If it wasn't putting a teammate out of pressure, trying to take a carry inside his own 20, or at the other end of the park, trying to link up with a winger out wide on an overlap. Joey Manu, it looks like he's returning to centre. I mean, we spoke about this last week. He's the best fullback at the Roosters, and he certainly looked like it against the Knights. That's,
I was about to say, couldn't we just let Teddy ride off into the sunset and just put Joey Manu at fullback and let Teddy have a couple of months off just to recover the body, get ready for the finals, do the old Clark Keating for the Brisbane Lions.
Who knows, mate? Who absolutely knows? But look, the Raiders are at full strength. It looks as though Hudson Young will back up. He won't be at full strength. He, got through a fair amount of work on Wednesday night as well. But the Raiders are fresh coming off a bye, and that should be massive heading into this one. There was obviously a large emotional toll heading into that game they played before the bye, the Friday night early affair for Croker's 300th. That's in the rearview mirror now. Yep. The disappointment of that should have them ready to go in this one. I can see the Raiders getting the job done, and I'll certainly take them with the 3.5 start.
Nice and easy there to finish off the round. All right, best bets time for the weekend. Phil, what have you got for us?
Yeah, so I've had a chance, I suppose, at this stage to more look into the earlier games. I'm loving Jackson Ford anytime try scorer at $3.90 on Ladbrokes in the Friday night affair. I think Marcelo Montoya is a good first try scorer bet as well at $10 on Ladbrokes in that game. And yeah, I think the Raiders with the 3.5 start is something that I'm sort of leaning towards in that respect as well. Plus the Broncos 13 plus.
Yep. No, nice and easy. Yeah, I think I'm just going to roll in with Souths to our cover, and then maybe if we can find a Melbourne Storm 20 plus, just get real arrogant with it. That might be me, but that is CodeBet Daily NRL Round 17 preview done and dusted for the weekend. Head to the website. Most of Phil's previews are slowly filtering through. They'll be all up there over the weekend. Check out all the AFL previews. I just got some news about the Swans game as I was doing this, that Jeremy McGovern's not playing for Sydney. My Joel Amati 4 goals looks even better. If you listen to the AFL show.
For the Eagles.
Yes, playing for the Eagles. Yeah. Sorry, Joel Amati for the Swans will kick 4 now. So take that $7 I think was available. But if you haven't listened to the AFL show where I talked all about that, go check it out. All 6 games are covered there. That was the daily show for today, Thursday. Check out all of our shows. If you're on Spotify, this is on its own little island. But if you're on Apple Podcasts, just scroll up. All the other shows will be there for you. Check us out on social media, IG, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch. We're in a new studio, so we're going to be doing some fun stuff in here soon. I think we can set up a little game of mini cricket, basically, but I think Gerald will kill me if I break off one of his cameras. But I think that's about it. Phil, thanks for dropping in, mate. Hopefully the weekend's better to us than it was last week.
Indeed, certainly, and let's hope the weekend is better to us than it was last night as well.
Yes. Well, Arsenal are about to steal a Chelsea player, so I'm very happy. The Swans should be winning this weekend. So it looks like it's going to be a good weekend for me. So no complaints whatsoever. Just remember, punters, gamble responsibly. May all your picks come in. Happy punting. We'll catch you next week for round 18. CodeBet Daily, NRL, out.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.